I don't have an intro line, so hello. Welcome to my pre/post Zuckhelm series question and answer. First of all, thank you to everyone who asked questions. There's a lot of good ones, some questionable ones, but I'm excited to answer a good bunch of them. And thank you again for taking the time out of your day to watch my series, just in the first place. Seriously, thank you. I'll throw some stock footage I have of me doing a hard mode Theater of Blood solo in the background, so if you're a zoomer and you need some visual, you need something to keep yourself occupied, there you go. Let's make this interesting. When the raid ends, so does the video. Also, I'm doing this all in one take, so you're getting pretty much the Twitch version of Cold One, rather than the YouTube voice of Cold One. Alright, let's get started. First questions. Why are you so beautiful and talented? Why are you so cute? Why is your voice so relaxing to listen to? How did you become so handsome? Thanks. I'm glad 4 of us think so. Next question. I'm really enjoying the Q&A, and I'd love to show you how much I like your content, and I want to subscribe to see it more in the future. Does YouTube have a way to do that? Wow, I'm really glad you asked. Yes, there's this button below the video that says subscribe. If you click on that, all your wildest dreams will come true. And if you hit the thumbs up button as well, then you win. Go on, do that. Next question. How many jumbo-sized marshmallows can you fit in your mouth nowadays? If we're talking the big s'mores ones, I'd say 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, somewhere around there. In that ballpark. I'm going to lean towards 7. Next question. What is your favorite raid? Oh, please, that's a no-brainer. That's Raid Shadow Legends. If you're no stranger to YouTube, then you're no stranger to Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a completely free-to-play game, and it's something you can play easily when you're on the go, or if you're hanging out at home on PC, it's multi-platform. The numbers don't lie on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Over 80 million players have downloaded Raid, and there's many reasons why. The graphics go hard, and the champions go even harder. Champions are customizable beyond your imagination. New updates coming out faster than you can even think of them. This game is off the chain, and if you're looking for a great game to play on your phone, Raid Shadow Legends is a no-brainer. Raid Call of the Arbiter is in full swing. To celebrate this epic limited series, Raid is adding some of the new characters from the series as champions you can play in-game. The first is Artak, a mighty orc warlord that kinda reminds me of Galek, the starter orc who looks like Bandos. He's available now for free, but only for a limited time, and all you have to do is log into Raid for 7 days between now and July 24th, and he's all yours forever. With all of this exciting stuff and more coming to Raid, if you haven't started playing yet, then what are you waiting for? Use my link in the description, or scan the QR code to get tons of freebies to get you started. A free epic champion Knight Errant, 200,000 silver, 4 energy refills, and 1 epic skill tome. On top of that, you're getting a 1-day experience booster to wrap it all up. All stuff you don't want to miss out on. I hope to see you there. Okay, bad segue aside. Favorite raid? Theater of Blood. It doesn't require you to have a mining level, thieving level, anything of the sort, and that's exactly how a raid should be in old school RuneScape. Next question. Is bringing an SGS for the Inferno a good idea for someone who's never done Inferno, or just stick to blowpipe specs if no Eldritch? Okay, so I share mostly the same ideology as Adicon on this one, twitch.tv/Adicon, where if you bring a Sarah Godsword into the Inferno, you just spend time waiting for a special attack, and eventually that adds up to you spending like an extra 30 minutes per attempt if it's like a deep one, to like die to something that you're inexperienced with, and that just adds up over time into you just not putting meaningful time into learning the Inferno. And at the end of the day, I'd say Restored pretty much gives you the same amount of prayer back as a Sarah Godsword would anyway over the course of a full run. So if anything, it's stunting your ability to learn and do better, but that's my 2 cents on it. Next question. Why did you gator me a few months ago? I would never do such a thing. I'm really, really offended you would think I'd ever do such a thing. Next. What is your favorite beer? So, there's 3 beers that I have that I really like, and I can't rank which one's better than the other, so it's between Stella, Modelo, and an Indian Pale Ale that's kind of local to Florida called Hialeah. So if you're around Florida and you know Cigar City, the one beer they're known for, yeah, that's in my top 3. Next question. Is there a universe where you excel at another game? How long have you been playing old school RuneScape? What other games did you play growing up? Do you play any other games nowadays? What are your top 3 movie and series recommendations? Alright, so when I made this video, I kind of just like grouped any similar questions together just to make this easier. So the whole, do I play other games? Is there a universe where I excel at other games? There's a few other games I play here and there. The ones I gravitate to right now is Metroid Zero Mission for the Game Boy Advance. I've been trying to get better at doing that game at a relatively quick pace for 100% category. And the best I've done right now is under 65 minutes for in-game time. If it was real-time, then Scotty would probably have something to worry about, but I don't think I'll ever get there. Other games I play fairly casually, like that I feel like I'm okay at, is the Nintendo 64 Zeldas. I know how to do a couple of tricks in there, and I'm, like, off-stream trying to learn how to do bum hovers. But a couple of my friends know how to do it, and they make fun of me every single day for it. Other games I excel at, I guess we could mention League of Legends. Like, up until Season 6, I played that game competitively, and from that point on, I just played ARAMs. But I'll throw a picture, like, up on screen, which is a very, very good quality. I remember, like, a really good quality iPhone picture of me hitting Diamond back in Season 6, and then just quitting Ranked entirely after that, just to become casual play. And that's around the time when I got back into old school RuneScape in full swing. So that kind of tied together. What are my top 3 movie and series recommendations? So TV series I don't really watch all that much. I've not really watched public broadcasting television since like 10th grade, and that's going back really, really far. But if I had to pick top 3 movies that I enjoy, Batman the Dark Knight, Sin City, and Happy Gilmore. Top 3. No questions asked. And what other games did I play growing up? This might be plugging Twitch, but we'll talk more about that later. But if you go to my Twitch channel and type !variety, that kind of sums up like the games I really enjoyed growing up. You could look at that whole list right there, but there's like a lot that I liked and a lot that were just like kind of meh. But that should give you enough of a perspective as to what kind of games I got into. Next question. I would love a total amount of GP spent on the account if that has a reasonable way to get the answer. So I really wish at the start of the series I kept track of everything I spent, everything I made, kind of like I do for like my own personal taxes nowadays, but I didn't. I kind of just like went go mode, just don't care about costs, don't care about anything, just get the fastest time. I kind of have like a ballpark in my head as to how much I lost on this series. And if you haven't watched episode 12, spoiler alert for the next 10 seconds, maybe go watch episode 12 right now. The Torva plate leg split that I got with Protego in episode 12 actually got back a good chunk of money right there. That 150 mil did help a lot. But on top of the money I lost in the Mimic series, that was really close to what I lost, like 1.25 bill. I'd say there's like an extra 250 mil spent on just supplies as far as like a net loss compared to like what I made back from like the few drops I picked up in Slayer and throughout the rest of the series. So I'd say I spent a total of 1.5 bill on the series. I think that's a reasonable amount, maybe 1.8 bill, but I think closer to 1.5 is the better answer. All right, next question. What is your biggest fear in-game and IRL? Ooh. Okay, fear IRL. Funny enough, there's not really too much I fear IRL, but this is like one that kind of stems back to something from when I was really young, and I vividly remember this. When I was 6 years old, we had an out-of-ground pool in our backyard, and me and my dad were just swimming around in it, and he told me to get out of the pool, and I didn't listen to him. So I'm still swimming around. I hit the edge of the pool. If you've ever had an out-of-ground pool, you know it's like a ring. There's like a metal bar around the outside, and there was a wasp nest underneath where I hit. And yeah, one was very angry and stung me in the back of the head. And I remember that being excruciatingly painful. And for whatever reason to this day, I'm like not deathly afraid, but still like skittish around like wasps, bees, hornets, every type of insect like that. Even though I'm like calm around them, it's still like there in the back of my head, like ugh, just like very bad flashbacks to that. And greatest fear in game is that's hard to say. Greatest fear in game would be that there's more Iron Men playing the game than there are main accounts. That's my biggest fear. Well, I think there's like another question like pertaining Iron Man later, so we'll probably expand more on that later one. All right, next. Will there be anything after the Zuckhelm speedrun? Maybe something that will allow you to post more regularly on YouTube? I want to see you continue YouTube. Are you planning another series? How did you get so good at the game? How are you enjoying making the videos? Do you have new projects in mind? Will you go through with another YouTube series? Oh boy, okay, yeah, this is like all the big questions. I think it's like on everybody's mind since I'm originally a Twitch guy and I'm just like experimenting and dabbling with YouTube now. So I guess this is like kind of a formal time as any to announce this, that I do want to spend more time on YouTube compared to how much time I spent on it in the past 6 months. So if you've like followed me to any capacity, or like outside of just like watching my videos, maybe you've come to listen to me in Twitch chat and stuff, I do want to spend more time on YouTube, and I genuinely enjoy the experience of like editing videos. It's just, I've just only done it as like kind of in my off time, like when I'm not dedicating time to actually working. I treat it more as a hobby than I do a career, and Twitch is kind of like primarily my career, but I kind of want to stray away from that right now. For those that don't really pay attention to many of the online platform politics, Twitch recently put out a really bad statement saying they're cutting back on like what you're able to do with sponsors, and then they retracted that statement a day, like not even a day later, I think like a couple hours later, saying, oops, that was a bad idea on our part. Oh god, PR is gonna have a nightmare with that. But it kind of just showed me that Twitch as a company is probably one of the worst as far as like video game entertainment, where YouTube and even Kick I think is just better than Twitch now, but I don't think I'll ever migrate to Kick. But YouTube is just like dominating Twitch right now, especially after that's done. And I kind of want to migrate more to it. Like, I'm not going to stop streaming on Twitch. I think I'll probably be doing that until the platform just is inaccessible and just non-existent anymore. But I definitely want to get into YouTube more, because one, I enjoy it more. Two, I don't need to like be fully animated. I can kind of just like, you know, record myself in my own time. It's much more natural, but it'll like take away from one of my favorite aspects about Twitch, which is just like live interaction and live conversations. Like this is one thing, like being able to answer questions on YouTube that are like pulled out from a comment section, but it's not exactly the same as having like an actual back and forth for minutes on end with people, especially those that have been with me on Twitch for however long. Maybe like you've been with me for 4 years, you've been with me for 2 years, you've been with me for a year, or you've been with me for a month, you just come and chat. It's just a different experience that YouTube doesn't have. But yeah, I do plan to spend more time on YouTube. And as far as this, as another series goes, I do have one planned in mind. I have been recording for it for the past, I think, 2 or 3 months now. If you've been on Twitch, it's not really been that much of a secret. It's a Zuckhelm on a Zerker. It's called low percent, even though it's not going to be the lowest combat level. I have to award that to a guy called Cakes. I'll like type his name on stream because it's not exactly spelt as Cakes is. But he's going for quote-unquote a low percent build, which is the lowest combat possible. And the last I spoke with him, he has 3 tasks left in order to get the Zuckhelm. One of them is a meme, and 2 of them are, I think, objectively the hardest for a Zerker to get. But he is on the clock right now because, for those of you that don't live under a rock, Desert Treasure 2 is coming out with 4 new bosses, and yeah, they're going to come with combat achievements, we know that. But yeah, that's going to be another series. There's other video ideas I have in mind, and yeah, I do want to continue with YouTube and be more proactive with YouTube in the future. So hopefully that answered all of everyone's questions regarding my stance with YouTube and my stance with Twitch. All right, next. Now that we're done with the loaded question. Very opinionated ranking of old school RuneScape bosses would be excellent content for me. That's actually an amazing segue. You know what? Thank you for the video idea, and I'm probably going to end up doing that. I actually like this idea. I could definitely make like a 20-minute tier list of every old school RuneScape boss, and we'll probably end up pissing off Reddit along the way. So, thanks for the idea. Next. Hardcore Iron Man, Group Iron Man, to Zuckhelm with Mutts. Iron Man this, Iron Man, okay. First off, if it's Iron Man, no. Unless it's like a very specific circumstance that I'm not at liberty to discuss right now. But let's just talk about like my stance with Iron Man in general. Personally, if other people play Iron Man, that's cool. It is fun up until a certain point, and I did enjoy it a long time ago when it was still in like its primitive state before Chambers' Era came out. It was kind of fun to do when your endgame was God War's Dungeon. But it objectively just got worse when the new updates were just, you now have to grind for 1,000 hours to complete it. So, yeah, I'm looking at you, Chambers, I'm looking at you, Ta, I'm looking at you, Toa, I'm looking at you, Nightmare, Nex. Like, that's when it became less fun to me. And it's also just like curb the game, but I'm not going to get into like that discussion. As far as like doing it on a Zuck helm on an Iron Man of any capacity, I wouldn't enjoy that because about 80 to 90% of the content is grinding out all of the items. So like when I've done this on the main account, I just have to grind out the stats and the quests, and then I'm in go mode. I can just go attack stuff and finish it off. Iron Man is not exactly the same because, hey, I need to get either Twisted Bow or settle for Bofa. I need to get probably the TOA staff. I don't exactly know how Iron Man meta is nowadays. But it would just be like an extended series, and I personally don't really enjoy the Iron Man gameplay anymore. Sorry. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. Unless, like I said, the very specific circumstance, which I'm not going to mention now. Maybe in the future you'll hear about it, maybe in like a few months' time, but for now, just assume that doesn't exist. Next question. How many cubic meters of lasagna do you consume per week? So, this is probably going to get me canceled. I eat lasagna maybe 1 to 2 times a year whenever my mom decides to make it and invites me and my brothers over for dinner. And lasagna is very overrated. Next question. What is your favorite combat achievement task? What's your least favorite combat achievement task? And if I could add a task, what would it be? Ooh, okay. So it's not so much my favorite one combat task, it's my favorite style of combat task, and I think it's like the way combat tasks should be really designed in the first place. And I think they definitely hit the mark with a lot of tasks that exist nowadays. My favorite style of task is fun challenges that are fun to do a small handful of times or once. So a good example is Mauritania Only Tab, where you go in with only weapons that the Barrows brothers use. Black Salamander Kriara was kind of funny to do once. You know, stuff like that. I'm very much fixated on the Barrows Only Tab, especially when we did it on the Zuckhelm series, where all 5 of us, instead of wearing full Guthans or wearing full Torva with a Guthan Spear, we went in with full Daroks, guns ablazing, and just having the time of our lives. That was unironically very fun to do. And a streamer I used to follow a lot, although she doesn't really stream too often anymore, but I'll catch her anytime that I can when she's live. Alyssa, aka RSGF. She used to do like Barrows Brothers Tobs back in the day, where her and her other 4 teammates were restricted to only wearing a certain brother's gear. So one of them was wearing Carol's the whole raid, one of them was wearing Aram's the whole raid, one of them was wearing Darrick's the whole raid. You get the idea. So stuff like that, like anything that creates a fun atmosphere, but not something you'd farm like the boss for. I'm trying to think, like, what other bosses have really funky stuff like that? Oh yeah, TOA, this sub-tier 75 gear, where you have to look like an absolute noob, an absolute Iron Man. That's fun to do once. Stuff like that. That's my favorite type of combat achievement task. If the more of those that exist in the game, I think the more engaging and the more enjoyable combat achievements become. What's another one I enjoyed that's in that I can make an example of real quick before I move on? There's one for Chambers that I don't remember. It'll probably hit me later, but you get the idea of what kind of that I like. The ones that are my least favorite, I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. Kill count tasks, where you have to arbitrarily kill, like, 50 of the boss, or do 150 of the raid. It just seems kind of silly. Like, you can master the boss in, like, 20 kills, or you can complete all the tasks in 20 kills. And it just seems like a bit silly. Another one that I'm not too big a fan of, and this is probably the big offender, I think it's even worse than the kill count tasks, is ones that require you to lose 0 prayer points, and it's not conventional to do it. So things like Vorkath no prayer, for example, that's fine because you take like 30 damage or something over the course of it. But then you look at like the fight caves, where you need to have your prayer turned on. It's a battle of how good are the servers and how good is your internet connection for that like type of thing, you know? I really dislike those types of tasks, and I don't think there's a single person that enjoyed the 0 prayer fight caves task that's done it. So those are very distasteful, in my opinion. The one for Vorkath, like I said, is fine. You can do it without ever turning on your prayer, realistically. The same with Nightmare. You can just wear full Justy, bring 20 brews or whatever the hell, and you're good to go. But the Fight Caves one is... I'd probably put that as like my bottom 5 task, if not my bottom 1 task. And now, if I could add a task, what would it be? This kind of goes back to my favorite types of combat achievement tasks, and me and my friends were discussing one, so I cannot take credit for this idea that I'm putting forth, but this is the one I would put in the game. So for those unfamiliar with Tombs of Amascut and the Baba Path, or Path of Atmekan, the boss Baba has 8 sarcophagus around the room, and they can get damaged by Baba's boulder attack, the baboons that get spawned, and when they open up, they shoot fireballs out at you that deal AoE damage, or... Actually, no, they don't do AoE damage anymore, but if they land on you, they do damage. And there's an invocation that you can turn on that does more damage if you're lower prayer. My idea, or not my idea, my buddy's idea, was there should be a combat achievement where Baba has to be at level 4, and before the first set of boulders come out, where once she reaches a certain threshold, like, 1/3, 2/3 HP, before the first instance of that happens, you need to open all 8 sarcophagus. So you need to break them open by Baba either throwing boulders at you, or you wait for baboons to spawn and have them break them open. And all 8 need to be open before the first, wave of boulders. So now you're just dodging constant fireballs the whole time. It's not, incredibly cool, but it just looks funny. We had a raid like that the other night where we're just doing, money 400s, just having time, chatting in Discord and stuff. And I think on the first boulders, we had 5 open or something like that, because we just refused to run to the rocks to protect ourselves. We just cracked open all the sarcophagus. There were baboons running around. Nobody wanted to kill them. And it just looked really funny. And my buddy was like, yo, imagine if this was a combat task. So, I don't know, just stuff like that. Stuff that's fun to do once. For, a bit of a goofy style, Alright, let's move on. Next question. As someone with more casual friends and clan members, what's the best way to find teammates for Grandmaster speedrun times, especially Theater of Blood? On the same note, not wanting to pay for tasks, is there any way to get the TOA 8-man speed without a boosting Discord? Okay, so there's 2 answers to these. One of them, there's actually a combat achievements Discord for people that are actively looking to get tasks done and are physically able to do it, but just don't have teams to do it with, that are at that skill level. They have, Master Diary done, they've done some 65 Inferno, maybe, they're around that level. They're around your level, you're looking to get it done, they're looking to get it done, you can make something happen. I'll post a link in the description for that Discord. It might not be active because it's, a week long, I don't know how it works. If there's a permanent link, I'll link it in there and mention, hey, it's only active for this long. Or, you can just come to my stream and ask me, and I'll just, link it in there or something. Again, I'm plugging my stream, I'm evil. Second, for the 8-man TOA, wow, I just had a stroke. For the 8-man TOA speedrun, kind of the same answer. You can go into that Discord. Alternatively, there's a streamer called MoGoat Kirby. I'll link his stream as well, and I think I've referenced him for, I referenced him for the Vorkath task. He's a very talented gamer, streams fairly regularly on Twitch, and he's like me, where he's good at the game, or, quote-unquote good at the game, but nice. So, I think you'd like him. He looks to take people to do the 8-man TOA speedrun task, and I think he's got a requirement where you need the big boy staff. I don't know the full requirements, but he takes people to do it, and he regularly gets completions with it, so you can pick your avenue on that one. Alternatively, you can either join another clan or find people within your clan, people within... I'm not going to say we do raids, but... you can just, talk to people, but I think my previous 2 answers are probably best suited for that. Alright, next up, if you enjoy any old-school RuneScape YouTube, what are some of your favorites? And none of the basic answers like GGs or Swampletics. So I do enjoy those, and Soup, please don't hate me. I've not even watched episode 1 for Season 3 of Gillenor Games. That first episode is 90 minutes long, and I don't have the time to commit to that, even though this video is probably going to be an hour long. Please don't hate me. I do want to watch it. I've heard Season 3 is better than Seasons 2 and 1, and I really enjoyed Season 2. And I did enjoy Swampletics, obviously. As far as, what YouTube content I really enjoy for old school RuneScape, I will say I really did enjoy Solo Missions and Sea Engineers, Hardcore Iron Man, and PvP World Series. I guess the flavor for that's, kind of died down. Nobody's really enjoying that. Teletubby King had a really good series, too, until he went to just become a normal Iron Man and just escaped. He's like, yeah, I beat it, I just want to play the game now. But those were, kind of exciting when they came out. Lemoy Kappa's got a really, really nice one as well. I know he's, been binging that out as well. Stuff like that kind of, just hits to me. Just because I'm not willing to do that kind of thing, and you can't really do it on Twitch, so I never could do it, so I'm vicariously living through them doing that series. So, those are kind of my favorites. If any of you guys have recommendations for people who do that kind of thing on YouTube, even if they're, small, plug them down below, I'll give them a look. I kind of like that sort of thing. It's odd tension, just unnecessary tension, and plus they're playing Iron Man mode, so I don't have to, so even more thumbs up. Alright, next question. If you are the cold one, who is the hot one? There is no hot one. The cold one is one, single, one. Singular. One, and only one. However, applications are open. Alright, next question. If you could change one thing about the old school RuneScape community, what would it be? I am so gonna get cancelled for this one. I can feel it. If I could change one thing about them, it would be that they'd have kind of the idealistic views of the game, similar to like what older players like. I wish there were more people that enjoyed old school RuneScape for like how it was compared to like how RuneScape turned, or how old school RuneScape turned into post like 2020. Like there's a very, very large difference in the flavor of updates that have happened in the current decade compared to the previous decade. Granted, there's a lot of good updates that have happened in 2020 and beyond. One of them I will say, actually, was this? Yeah, Sepulchre was 2020, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure it was. But like, I enjoyed that in leagues, and I enjoyed that on my late hardcore. It was a really, really fun minigame. Guardians of the Rift is kind of chill to do too. I like that for its own reasons. Like, there's been a lot of good updates that have come out, and TOA for the first like week or so was really fun. But then there's just a lot of updates that I'm just like, this just is not it for me. But it's very... I'm not going to say it's like an elitist standpoint of this kind of thing. I think it's just like the flavor of update that older players enjoy compared to what newer players enjoy. And I wish there were more like older players that were still around that didn't quit or get burnt out or gave up on the game to like kind of hold the same ideology and like speak for it. But if you know what I'm talking about and you're one of us, then hey, shoutouts to you. But if you like the game for how it is now, then also shoutouts to you as well. But hey, I'm just saying the older updates were better. Shout out to Neve's Cave. That place used to be really, really good. It looked private server as hell, but it looked like old school RuneScape. That's all I'm saying. Compared to like how the new caves look, the old one just, it had the old school vibe to it, you know? And I like stuff like that. Kind of like the elves before they got updated models and stuff like that. I just like the old looking stuff. And I remember talking about this kind of thing with Sebe on the podcast with him and Whale recently, about how like newer updates just look like Toontown. And I think most people like advocate for like newer styled updates compared to like older styled updates. Maybe this is like a discussion for another like Ramble video in the future, but we'll talk about that another time. Next question. Do you like mangoes? Yes, but it's not something I pick up, but just for you, next time I go grocery shopping, I will pick up a mango and chop it, and maybe I'll take a picture of it, and if you request it in my stream or in my Discord, I'll post a picture of it or something like that. But yeah, I like mangoes. They're good. Next question. How many hot dogs can you eat? 0. They're fucking gross. I don't like hot dogs. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I just don't. Next question. What was the first thing I did as a member in RuneScape? So, I remember this like it was yesterday. This is end of May 2004 when I first got members. And back then, if you wanted members, there was an option called Pay by Cash. If you're an old player like me, it's where you would just mail in physical money to an address that they gave you, and you would get RuneScape membership, and that's back when it was $5 for membership. There was ways with credit card as well, but, you know, hey, 15-year-old, 14-year-old me didn't have a credit card, so I'm just sending $5 of my allowance in mail and hoping I get membership in a couple of days. And I still remember the first thing I did was probably the same thing that a lot of other people did. I walked right through that gate north of Falador, but that's not exactly the first thing I did. I logged in, I was in Lumbridge, and I pickpocketed a man. It was the first thing I did. I got experience in thieving, and I was like, oh, hell yeah. And then I ran right to Falador. I'm like, I gotta go through this gate, I gotta bust in, I gotta see what's in here, I gotta explore the new world. And I'm pretty sure a lot of other people did the same exact thing. As far as what I did after, I had some fishing levels. I trekked over White Wolf Mountain and survived. I actually made it across. And I did some big net fishing academy, and I was like, wow, I'm getting so much fish so fast, like herrings, bass, cod, boots, caskets, oysters. I'm like, wow, this is like the best thing ever. And yeah, everything else is history from there. So, hope that suffices. Next question. Could I challenge Rendy to a sweat off? Well, I currently live in Florida. The date of recording this is June 15th. We are starting off with Florida summer. We are approaching temperatures in the high 80s with humidities of 80% and above. I think he will just lose based on where I live. I'm sweating every single day, out of my control. Rendy stands absolutely no chance against me. Next question. Which RS streamer would I kiss on the mouth? I'm going to plead the fifth. Next question. What's the best Zelda game, and why is it Majora's Mask? Well, you answered your own question with that one. This is very opinionated, but I think Majora's Mask is the best Zelda game. And I'll even do you the pleasure of hearing my top 5 Zelda games in order. Rank 1, Majora's Mask. 2, Ocarina of Time. 3, and recently this just went to 3, Twilight Princess. 4, Link's Awakening. And 5, Wind Waker. As far as the rest, maybe we'll make a video, or like a short video on my Zelda tier list, but the reason why it's Majora's Mask is it was challenging. It had a time limit. Some of it was a bit cryptic, but you could solve it based on context clues, and the time limit just like added so much more suspense to it, especially when the final hours hit and you hear that nostalgic music of like the world is about to end, the world is rumbling every couple of seconds. You look up and you see that moon's face just staring at you like I'm about to end the world. But yeah, that's what did it for me. Next question. Who is the funniest streamer? No contest. Skill specs. That man can make me laugh within minutes of being within his stream. And no one else can do it like he does. So yeah, skill specs, you get rank 1 funniest streamer for old school RuneScape. Next question. What is it about Jersey Mike's that really seals the deal for you? Compared to every other sandwich place, which there's really not that, like, compared to burger places, there's not that much. Like, as far as, like, notable sandwich places, we have Quiznos, which I don't even know if they're around anymore. I've not seen one anywhere. Subway, and I don't even remember what the other one is. I don't know. They're just good. That's it. Like, they're a bit pricey, but, like, you're getting what you pay for at the end of the day. And, like, half the time I go in there, the guy that works at the location I go to, he'll toss me a couple free cookies. And you know what? If it's free, it's for me, and I like free. Next question. How was your learning process for all of these bosses and raids? Was it a lot of trial and error, or do you naturally have a good sense for completing difficult feats in old school RuneScape? Alright, so in recent times, solving bosses is a lot easier just because I think of the game a lot differently nowadays compared to how I used to think of it, let's say, 6 or so years ago when Chambers of Zera came out. If you could see some of the first solo chambers I did, it is just an atrocity to the eyeballs. Like, you would just be crying, and not for good reasons, if you saw my first chambers. It was really bad. Like, in the early days, a lot of it was trial and error, and especially so with, like, Theater of Blood release, where, like, I remember that day I was working for the release. I couldn't get off for that day, so I had to like tune into Twitch once in a while, like maybe ask some questions on mobile Discord, like ask them what was going on. And when I got home, I was so excited to play. I knew like so much. First raid, we wiped at Sodetseg, and I died in all 4 rooms. Next raid, we got to Verzik, but it took like a lot of time, and yeah, there is like some trial and error for exploring like a lot of things in this game. And I think that is even the case like nowadays. Like, we had a lot of trial and error for TOA release, like our big team. When we did our first blue raid, like our first like entry mode raid was a piece of cake. Like, we all had max gear. It was a bit of a cakewalk. And then we did a blue raid and we wiped a Zebok because he just roared at us and we didn't know what happened or like what we were supposed to do. We didn't know we had to push the jugs into rocks, so we're like just question marking, like, huh? So yeah, there's a lot of trial and error for a lot of PVM instances, like even to this day, for me and a lot of other people. But I think it's even more trial and error, like, back when I was way, way worse at the game. And as far as if I have a natural good sense for completing difficult feats in old school RuneScape, I wouldn't say I have the best sense. Like, I'm definitely the kind of person to run his head into the brick wall until he breaks through. But I will think of, like, some things methodically. If I notice something that can solve it, I'll do it, even if it's not the best thing. But we've got to wait for another PVM update for me to really answer this question, like, properly. Because I'm not going to lie, as soon as I started trying Tombs of Masket Expert Mode on Dare release, my brain was fried. I'd been up for like 16 hours, excuses. But I was not thinking properly when I was doing those. I was kind of just, like I said, running my head into the brick wall. Next question. If you could collab with another old school RuneScape content creator, who would it be and why? I've already collabed with a lot of old school RuneScape content creators. I've done, I think, 3 Sebe casts with Sebe. I've done a Real Homies Hour with Mick Homie and Lopsy. I've done a Tob Tuesday with Prison Joseph. I'm looking forward to do one of those again. Those are really fun. But I'm down to do collabs with almost any content creator on the platform if I'm good friends with them. I think they're really fun. They get a lot of people excited, like in the viewing aspect. And when you see, like, let's say Tasty is doing a collaboration with, let's say, Skill Specs or something, where Skill Specs teaches Tasty how to PK and Tasty teaches Skill Specs how to do Theater of Blood or something like that. Just, I don't know. For whatever reason, like, collaborations don't happen often enough on old school RuneScape, and I wish they would happen more often, because they're kind of fun to watch, and it's a bit different than watching just your favorite content creator do the same thing, or continuing the series. I think it's a nice spice to things. But if another content creator would like to do collabs with me, hey, hey, my DMs on Twitter are open, I'm probably following you, so let's make something happen, Next question. Why do you love Iron Men so much? I think I answered this kind of question before, but I'll answer it in a different way this time. Iron Men are the cause of all problems and the solution to none, and you cannot change my mind. Next. Could you do a tier list of all the Grandmaster tasks from easiest to hardest ones? Dude, that's honestly good video idea for the future. Thanks. You guys literally just make YouTube look so easy, so from what I'm gathering, I can just get ideas from my viewers and commenters and just take 100% of the credit for it and just say, yeah, I made this. So, yeah, comment down below if this is how I'm supposed to do things on YouTube. I need to get a better feel for things. What do you think the Grumbler tastes like? Probably tastes like low-grade lobster, like lobster bites from, like, Red Lobster, and I haven't been to Red Lobster in, like, years, probably since I was like 9 or 10 or something, but I imagine he doesn't taste that good. Will's probably mad at me. Alright, next question. Whack! An obvious attempt at pushing your YouTube crowd to Twitch. Thumbs down emoji. Well, thankfully for both of us, this statement is like false on so many levels. Like I said earlier, I want to migrate more to YouTube than I want to be on Twitch right now. And I also want to put more effort into it. So, good news, MZ Archetype. It's your lucky day. Congratulations. I will be more on YouTube, and soon you might not ever have to click on my Twitch channel ever again. Well, probably not, but, like, I'll be on YouTube more than Twitch, probably in, like, a couple of years' time. Anyway, next question. Where the exploited deleted is my second YouTube channel with Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I reminded you 4 times, so I'm really bad with this. I'm sorry if it's not there with VODs on it by the time this video goes live. You can call your lawyer and sue me, I guess. Next question. Do you think a tier above Grandmaster should exist with tasks like Solo Tob, No Pillar Inferno, No Supply Inferno, any high-level PVM feats in old school RuneScape that aren't current combat achievements? So I've had this kind of discussion before on my live streams. I think there should be another tier above Grandmaster, but there should be no rewards tied to it other than your own personal achievements. So things like soloing Theater of Blood, and then soloing Theater of Blood in under an hour, soloing hard mode Theater of Blood, soloing hard mode Theater of Blood in under an hour, complete the Inferno with no pillars being up on wave 4 and beyond, complete the Inferno with no consumable supplies in your inventory, stuff like that. Yeah, we can put that in another tier and call it the not the Grandmaster, the Challenger tier, the Invincible tier. I don't know what the tier system looks like in Valorant or CSGO, but we'll call it the one that's above Grandmaster. But you just get no rewards for it. It's just there for a personal achievement. And I think like a good metric to go off for like other tasks as well is to look at the Oblivion Diary. There's a lot of times on there they change it retroactively based on like new items that come out, new metas that like get developed and everything. And if it was to scale over time, like let's say a time on the diary is like challenge mode Chambers of Zarek 5-man, completed in under 20 minutes or less. And that's the time for now. Let's say you complete it today. And in a year's time, new items come out and it becomes easier to make that time and the average completion time is much lower. Then it retroactively changes to like, let's say 19 minutes and 30 seconds. But if you already completed it when it required 20 minutes, you will not be required to beat it at 19 minutes and 30 seconds because you've already proven you could do it in a previous format. I would very much like stuff like that to happen, even for like the Grandmaster Diary. I'd like to see that kind of progression like go, but I think people that are going for it nowadays might not be too happy with that, but maybe that's another topic for another day. Yes, I think there should be another tier, but like I said, there's no rewards, not even cosmetics, no nothing, it's just there, it's something you can do, kind of like the Oblivion Diary is something you can do for your own personal achievement and nothing else. And also, I am not in Oblivion, I am not affiliated with Oblivion, except maybe like a couple members I chit-chat with, but I don't think I'm ever going to join that clan. It's not my cup of tea to join into, but I think their diary sets like a good precedent for what should be another tier of combat achievements, should it ever get released, but maybe I'm just like kind of grasping at straws and just like hoping way too hard. But hopefully that answers your question well enough. Next. Thanks for the epic content. That random guy in the Catherine Bank, Trailblazer League. Okay, so I remember this. I remember like a lot of interactions I have with like just random people, even if I don't say anything back when someone says, hey, I love your videos, hey, thanks for the content, hey, thanks for being whatever the hell you want to say. Like, I might not remember your in-game name or your Twitch name or YouTube name or anything, but if it's an interaction, like, I'll remember it in the back of my head, and it means a lot, so even if I don't say anything back, thank you. And even though your interaction was 3 years back, thank you. Pound emoji. Next. Was getting as good as you are mechanically at Old School RuneScape's highest skill ceiling worth the time invested? It may just boil down to high levels of motivation for a good challenge, worthy of the time invested and or status in the community, but I was genuinely curious. I might have had a stroke reading that, but I get what you're trying to ask. Okay, so I kind of share the same ideologies of playing the game as Settled, and I know this because of his Sebe cast that he had a few months back, where he looks to play things at the hardest difficulty. And I've been the same way with a lot of other games I've played in the past. So some I can use as an example. If you've ever been a fan of like the Metroid series, hard modes in that game, one that stands out in my mind is Metroid Prime 2 Echo's hard mode. The Boost Ball Guardian, an absolute nightmare, took me several tries to beat. I enjoy stuff like that. Like anything that challenges me and I can't like consistently like complete or like just walk over. Anything that makes me like have to try really, really hard to beat, I enjoy. Another good example is Fire Emblem 7's Hector hard mode, Fire Emblem 6's hard mode, stuff like that. Just anything that challenges you, I just enjoy doing that. And I think that's like kind of what motivated me to do harder stuff in Old School RuneScape in the first place, and less so for the sake of content creation. I think like early on, like when I first started streaming, was around the time when Inferno got released. And yeah, I think it was like, yeah, around July of that year. And I was making attempts with the Dragon Hunter crossbow. So fun fact for those who don't know, my main account, Cold One, used to be an Iron Man. I know, disgusting. My old main account that I had from years back is not secure. It's been recovered. I do not play on it anymore. It does not hold wealth. And it's partially the reason why I de-ironed Cold One, because I wanted a main to play on, and I was kind of done with it. But away from that, I started streaming around that time, and I was running the Inferno with a Dragon Hunter crossbow before Dragon Slayer 2 was out. So we didn't have Dragon Bolts. It was Addy Ruby Bolts and Addy Diamond Bolts. That weapon was jank. It was terrible, but at least I had a blowpipe. But I was, like, determined to finish the Inferno without Twisted Bow. Like, every run I was watching, people had T-bows. I remember a streamer, and someone I had, like, met up with and hung out with a few times, Latius. Maybe a lot of you remember him as well. I remember seeing him with an Infernal cape before me, and he did it with an Armadyl crossbow. I was like, okay, so it's possible. I just need to get good. And I used him as, like, inspiration to, like, push me forward to, like, actually finish it. And when I got it done for the first time, it was, like... It probably feels the same to, like, any of you guys who got an Infernal Cape for the first time. Like, it's a big rush, you're excited. It's also like when you beat Jab for the first time when you're younger. Maybe, like, when you beat Jab for the first time nowadays if you're newer to the game, or if you just never did it. It's a big sense of accomplishment. And I felt pretty much the same way as I'd imagine you guys did. And then there was just, like, pushing it more. Like, you know, hey, can I do this faster? Hey, can I do this more consistently? And there was also the idea of, like, World First on the line as well for other things, where... I'm pretty sure I was the first person to do the Inferno with, like, a Rune Crossbow tier weapon. Like, Rune Crossbow is basically the same as Dragon Hunter Crossbow, just, like, I think it's, like, 4 range accuracy better, but it's, like, meaningless. Like, I'm pretty sure I was the first person to do it with that, and I was like, what other world first can I do? But it was all, like, Iron Man based, like, okay, first Iron Man with an Inferno pet. So I would always just go for, like, Zook tasks anytime the Slayer Master assigned, like, yeah, Tazar. I always go for Zuck. I'm like, oh, sweet, I have another chance of getting this pet. And I ended up actually being the first Iron Man with the Inferno pet, but, like, most of us with it, we're not Iron Man anymore. And then, of course, there's the first Iron to Solo Top, but, like, I would always push for those, but it would also just, like, make me inherently, like, better at the game. And I don't think, like, if you ever want to get better at the game, you should do it for the clout. You should just do it for, like, your own personal improvement. If you actually want to get better and look to think of the game in a different way. And a lot of people can do it. Like, almost anybody can get, quote-unquote, good at the game, but I think it just boils down to your own personal, like, drive, your own motivation, and just everything surrounding like that. Like, anyone can do anything in this game. It just depends on how much you want it, you know? Hopefully that answered everything you wanted to know. Next question. What are you wearing? I'm wearing jeans and a black shirt. I don't even know why I put this question in my list of things I want to answer, but congratulations, you made it. I am wearing a black shirt, jeans, and flip-flops. If that counts. Next question. Do you eat cereal? If so, what is your favorite? I haven't eaten cereal since I was in middle school. I don't like cereal nowadays, but I used to like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I used to like that cereal. I remember that. Next. How do I enjoy accounting? So this was my career before I was full-time content creating. And I will say, as far as enjoying accounting, that's the neat part. You don't. You kind of just roll with it. Maybe this is me. Like, I quote-unquote enjoyed it, or rather, like, I was able to palate it. It's more so, like, I'm good at it, so I enjoy it kind of thing. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel that way about stuff that they do. Like, oh, I'm good at it, therefore I enjoy it. And I was that way with, like, anything mathematical as well. Some parts are more dry compared to, like, other fields of accounting. Like, I personally don't enjoy auditing that much, but I enjoy tax. So, maybe I'm just weird for that. But overall, just, if you're good at it, you'll find ways to enjoy it, you know? Next question. You got about 350. How about just 250? And so at this point, I realized that this YouTube commenter was not a YouTube commenter, but in fact an 8-story tall Loch Ness monster from the Mesozoic era. Moving on. If you could anything, what would if they have not would you have done, or no, there's wrong a life, and that sleep to grunt and to suffer of proud man's consistent make whose bodkin who would cost what is the biggest when why do they call it oven when you how you can if speedrun game is to quest when how and I've gone cross-eyed. Okay, this might be a hot take, but I agree. The answer is yes. And before the last question, a big thank you again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring the video. Alright, we've got time for one last question. Do you like men? Well,